Hello and welcome to Stage 0 presentation of my P1 project. I am Chinmay Narote and my guide for this project is Professor Swati Pal, and my P1 is about designing for genetic testing kit. So what exactly is a genetic testing kit? A genetic testing kit is an at-home collection tool used to gather a DNA sample, usually through saliva or a cheek swab, which you mail to a laboratory to learn about your ancestry, health risk, or physical traits, also referred as direct to consumer genetic tests. It estimates your genetic chance of getting certain common diseases, and it also shows personal traits like eye color or hints on how your body handles food and fitness. So, why genetic testing kit? In India, the genetic testing kit is extremely rare, and the current way patients get tested often happens by chance during a doctor's visit, and that is mainly focused on cancer. Multiple barriers from individual levels, such as perceived cost of genetic testing, fear related to being at an increased risk of cancer, fear of genetic discrimination, etc., to clinical and policy levels, such as lack of insurance coverage, etc. This undermines the potential of genetic testing for hereditary cancer risks. And and also mainly because it was my personal motivation to explore this niche and design something useful. So this is the overview of what I will cover in this presentation, which is divided into four sections. Starting with the brief. My aim for the project is designing genetic testing kit journey in the Indian context. The digital journey of a genetic testing kit from sample collection to the point where user reads and understand their genetic report. And my objective is that genetic testing results such as polygenic risk scores, career status, and variants of uncertain significance are often difficult for users to interpret. And misunderstanding these results can lead to confusion. So this project explores the friction points across the genetic testing journey to design a clearer and more supportive end-to-end experience. So how I am going to approach this project? I previously worked with CRISPR gene editing tools. CRISPR gene editing is a powerful biotechnology tool that allows scientists to change or rewrite the DNA of living things. It works like very precise molecular scissors. There is guide RNA and Cas9 protein that lets expert to cut, remove, or fix pieces of DNA or genetic code. So I designed a unified CRISPR workflow system that reduces workflow fragmentation by minimizing the manual data transfer, that is copy pasting, preserving experimental context, and also reducing cognitive overload across the design in the tools, including gene discovery, gRNA design, ordering gRNA, and virtual cloning. So after understanding how gene editing works, I was curious to know what happens before gene editing. How do we first discover and understand an individual's genetic risk or conditions? This led me to explore the concept of genomics and genetic testing. So, the next approach will be studying literature and secondary research, which is basically existing research papers, Indian hereditary cancer literature, DTC UX research, which is of 23andMe, and Map My Genome. And then I will go ahead with qualitative research. Here I want to state that since primary research is the priority, which is focusing on patients' perceptions, expectations, and preferences, but since there's no Indian DTC genetic testing population at a meaningful scale and no Indian DTC genetic testing literature available, so due to challenges in accessing these users, secondary qualitative research will be used for now, which will be drawing on existing studies, interviews, and documented user experiences. And then analyzing existing platforms such as Map My Genome to understand how their services work, their UI, visuals, marketing, and their workflow. And also the approach of system design to understand how the entire system actually work. The end-to-end journey, understanding the intervention design, and mapping the genetic testing journey to identify barriers, gaps, and opportunities, and exploring interventions that can improve the experience of the genetic testing. So far, I have planned the output will be a research grounded redesign concept and prototype for a D2C genetic testing interface experience for Indian users. So after that, what are my next steps? Firstly, to study the existing research papers and literature on D2C genetic testing, and then search for the Indian users of DTC genetic testing and their experience across internet through mining app reviews, community discussion, and video unboxings. Then genetic counselor interviews from such as Tata Memorial type for understanding how Indian users misread genetic risk information, what terminology confuses them, cultural anxieties around genetic results, and then probably international D2C genetic testing UX, such as 23andMe user case study. So far now, that's how I thought of the project. Thank you.